Today we are going to discuss a new report by ING Economics on Europe's recently launched Repower EU strategy, which actually seeks to reduce Europe's reliance on gas and oil from Russia. We're going to discuss this with Mr. Gerben Himinga, Senior Sector Economist from ING. Good morning, Gerben. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining Energy Live News. I would like to start asking you, how could lowering gas dependency raise emissions? And of course, I want to discuss with you the main findings of the report. Can Europe easily cut the reliance on Russian gas and oil? What do you think?
Well, it certainly isn't an easy task. Europe is for 40% dependent on its gas demand from Russia, a total of 155 billion cubic meters. And we estimate that 55% in a best case scenario can be substituted by other sources. Mostly that's LNG. From other countries, a bit higher gas production in Europe itself, and also more non-Russian gas pipe flows to Europe. Well, that's a bit the same conclusion as the Repower EU. They think that 100 billion cubic meters of Russian gas can be substituted, and they also play a role to renewables. So 20 billion cubic meters of renewables can also live up with the task. Well, it certainly isn't an easy task. And the interesting thing is that the most easy parts, apart from LNG, that's probably a gas to coal switch in Europe, is not so much in the plan Repower EU. And obviously, if we want to use more coal to become less dependent, then that also has a negative impact on emissions in Europe.
What can we say about the gas demands in the last few months, and especially in the last month since the invasion of Ukraine started?
Yeah, gas demand has come down a bit, also because of the high prices. There's a natural price elasticity that's now into play. But I think you have to distinguish between two things. The one thing is that what can companies do, or households, to reduce their cost demands, comfort in their houses, for example, or without losing much production. And we estimate that for this year, that is only about 10 to 15% of gas that can be saved easily without high costs. Well, on the other hand, we see the market forces come into play of high prices. And that leads to curtailment of production, especially in the high energy sectors, aluminium, steel making, fertilizer, plastic production, hydrogen. And there you really see that the big players cut production levels, sometimes 50% even. And that, of course, has an impact on economic growth and their profit levels.
Do you believe that renewables, renewable energy, can replace the vast amount of coal and nuclear? How financially feasible is this plan?
Yeah, the Repower EU puts quite some emphasis on renewables. They think that 20 billion cubic meters of gas can be replaced with renewables in the short term. That's quite a big figure, in my opinion. And that has to do with the fact that renewables are not a perfect substitute for gas. When you look at total energy demand, then 20% is used for power generation in Europe, 25% for mobility, mostly oil use, but the majority, 50%, is used for heating purposes. And that's where gas really plays a role, especially in manufacturing, to generate the high temperatures of 800 degrees and more. And there renewables cannot really make a difference. Renewables are very good at generating power, but not so much in heat. So it will be limited and mostly confined to the power sector.
If this pressure to disrupt Russian gas imports increases in the coming months, what impact do you think that there will be on energy markets, especially for next winter?
Yeah, it's very hard to exactly estimate. It's more a what-if scenario. But first thing we need to do is make sure that we top off the gas reserves in Europe. And they are almost empty right now at 20% of their storage capacity. And in the summer months, they have to be filled. So that's the main concern now. And that's why you also see that Europe is now implementing the mandatory filling requirements. Now, if Russian gas flows are disrupted, then there are also plans to curtail gas production in energy-intensive sectors, mostly manufacturing, because households are the protected consumers, and also vital industries like hospitals, for example.
Is it correct that many options right now which are available to lower dependency on Russian gas are exactly the same as the solutions we need to lower emissions?
No, they are not exactly the same. And sometimes they can even be opposing each other. So there are trade-offs. So for example, in the short term, increasing coal-fired production can really make a big impact on reducing gas demand. But that, of course, comes with negative emissions. And that's why I was a bit surprised that gas to coal switching is not so much mentioned in the Repower EU plan, and also not technologies to make coal cleaner, so to say. For example, CCS technologies that capture and store the carbon emissions of coal-fired power plants.
Gerben, thank you very much for your time. It was really a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.